The FBI raided a luxury island estate so secret it doesn't appear on official maps, and it's allegedly owned by Diddy. Today, we're exposing what the agents were really looking for, how they got there without alerting the media, and what this island could reveal about one of the most powerful men in entertainment. If you had access to a private island, would you use it to escape or to hide something? Let me know in the comments, because what's happening here is no vacation. They call it ghost real estate. Properties so well hidden, they disappear from satellite map. But Diddy's island isn't just ghosted, it's encrypted. For years, its ownership was buried under layers of offshore corporations and real estate proxies, scattered across Belize, the Caymans, and a corporate registrar in Switzerland. But investigators didn't follow the name, they followed the money. A leaked customs clearance form from 2020 listed a luxury yacht docking regularly near the same unlisted coordinate. It wasn't long before forensic analysts traced recurring fuel deliveries, exclusive catering shipments, and encrypted Wi-Fi activity pinging from deep inside a restricted maritime zone. If a location doesn't want to be found, that's probably where you should look first. Always follow the paper trail, not the name. That's where secrets live. The island was allegedly acquired in 2006, right when Diddy's global ventures were expanding fast and scrutiny was low. The transaction was disguised as a strategic hospitality asset, registered under a Bahamian trust company. But deeper digging linked the purchasing entity to a legal advisor who represented multiple artists under Diddy's management at the time. Why is that relevant? Because the same advisor was also involved in structuring NDA payouts related to misconduct claim. That's not just a legal trail, it's a behavioral pattern. And if the name on the deed looks clean, it might just mean someone paid to keep it that way. A clean name doesn't mean clean intent. Ownership isn't always obvious. It didn't start with a warrant. It started with a whisper. According to sources close to the case, the FBI received an anonymous tip weeks before the island raid, but it wasn't just any tip. It came from someone described as internally placed with knowledge of international transactions. That single leak triggered a quiet collaboration between Homeland Security, the IRS Criminal Division, and a cyber forensics unit with federal clearance. This wasn't a narcotics bust or a media stunt. The presence of multiple specialized agencies suggests a broader investigation, one that could involve trafficking, financial fraud, or digital coercion. When federal departments coordinate quietly, it's rarely about one man. Two agencies means more than one target. Patterns, not names, get prosecuted. You might wonder, why would a celebrity even need a private island, let alone one that's hidden from aerial maps and cloaked in legal secrecy? It's not just about privacy. Islands like this exist in a strange legal gray zone. Depending on their location, they may fall outside standard jurisdiction, making arrests and seizures far more complex without international cooperation. This creates a kind of legal buffer zone, perfect for storing high-value assets, digital servers, or even orchestrating off-the-record meetings with zero oversight. You can't subpoena a shadow. If you're powerful enough to build a fortress, you're powerful enough to make people forget it exists. Isolated doesn't mean innocent. It often means untouched. Just before sunrise, residents of a nearby fishing village reported hearing the low thrum of helicopter blades. No media vans, no press leak, just a coordinated, unannounced air insertion. 3 unmarked helicopters, later identified by aviation trackers as federal Blackhawks, descended onto a hidden helipad carved into the island's northern edge. What's notable isn't just the precision of the drop, it's the silence that preceded it. FAA flight logs were backdated. Satellite imagery was blurred by request. By the time the public heard anything, agents were already gone, with whatever they came to get. The most dangerous operations are the ones you never hear about until it's too late. Silence is a tactic. Surprise is leverage. Officially, no one's talking, but internal leaks paint a disturbing picture. Multiple encrypted hard drives, dozens of burner phones, cache-filled lockboxes, and an advanced surveillance system with weeks of stored footage. The data was reportedly flown out immediately for forensic cloning. What's telling isn't just what they took, but what they didn't leave behind. No arrests, no press conference, no photos. That means investigators believe something bigger is coming, and they don't want to tip anyone off. When the evidence is digital, the clock doesn't tick. It loads. Data doesn't lie. It delays and then detonates. Behind closed doors, agents aren't just looking for drugs or weapons. They're chasing something far more corrosive: leverage. A growing theory suggests that Diddy may have used surveillance footage and digital records to exert control over associates, rivals, or even witnesses. The presence of encrypted servers, overlapping with celebrity visit logs, has sparked concern that certain files could involve non-consensual recordings, extortion attempts, or coercive silence agreements. This isn't just about who was recorded, it's about who was silent. Power isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's stored in folders marked private. Power corrupts, but digital leverage dominates. After the raid, panic rippled through Diddy's inner circle. Screenshots leaked from secure messaging apps suggest high-level managers and former collaborators frantically contacted legal counsel. One message allegedly read, "Did they find the red drive?" Even more telling, some celebrities have gone radio silent, archiving old photos, cutting ties publicly, or scrubbing shared appearances from social. It's the digital equivalent of fleeing the crime scene. Sometimes the loudest signal is sudden silence. Guilt spreads faster than facts, especially in rooms full of secrets. Federal investigations don't just shake one tree, they rattle the entire forest. Since the island raid, multiple unrelated witnesses and other pending civil cases have reportedly re-engaged their legal team. Legal analysts believe some of these individuals may have stayed silent in fear of retaliation, or worse, exposure. But now that the island's contents are in federal hands, the power dynamic has shifted. No one knows what's been uncovered yet, but the mere threat of discovery is enough to send shockwaves through every connected case. One person's hard drive could become another person's downfall. When evidence leaks, silence loses value. If you're finding this investigation as shocking as we are, hit that subscribe button. We unpack stories the headlines won't. And trust me, what's coming next is darker than anyone expected. While the island itself was off-grid, the skies above told a different story. Independent aviation trackers uncovered dozens of unreported private flights landing near the island, many of them linked to a jet registered under a shell company associated with Combs Global. What's alarming is the timeline. Several of these flights coincided with key legal deadlines, including hearings tied to past civil suits and sealed deposition. Why leave the country just before a subpoena is due? When movements line up with legal pressure, it's rarely coincident. Hidden flight paths often reveal exposed intentions. There's one person who knew the island better than anyone, the longtime boat captain who ferried guests, supplies, and possibly information. But just a week before the raid, he vanished. Official reports say he was on leave. Locals say he never showed up for his usual dockside poker night and hasn't been seen since. His family filed a missing person report in Nassau. No one responded. No press, no search, just silent. Disappearing quietly is a skill. Being disappeared is a warning. When the captain jumps ship, you ask who gave the order. Publicly, Diddy's legal team has taken a firm stance. He doesn't own the island. He has no control over what happens there. But documents tell a different story. Property taxes on the estate have been paid consistently by a trust that shares a registration agent with Combs Enterprise. Even more curious, the same address used for maintenance invoices matches a known Diddy business affiliate in Miami. That's not just proximity, it's operational involvement. You don't need to sign your name to control the room, just the key. Legal distance isn't the same as moral innocence. If the island was just a private getaway, why was it wired like a military base? Investigators discovered solar-powered signal jammers, underwater cabling that routed through Panama, and biometric locks on rooms the size of server farms. This wasn't a retreat, it was a bunker. The setup suggests serious planning and intent to shield digital activity from external traceability. One insider described it as a private surveillance and storage hub disguised as a resort. Seclusion is one thing. Infrastructure is another. Privacy isn't the goal when you invest in digital camouflage. It wasn't just Diddy using the island. Flight records and leaked catering invoices reveal a string of visits from high-profile figures, actors, executives, and influencers, all quietly arriving and leaving without a single Instagram story or tagged location. One invoice listed a $14,000 sushi spread for VIP guests flown in from Tokyo with same-day handling. No photos, no posts, no evidence they were ever there, unless the island cameras were rolling. Silence doesn't mean it didn't happen. It means someone made sure it couldn't be proven. Fame is temporary. Footage is forever. This isn't the first time Diddy vanished from public view when legal heat rose. Back in 2018, during a separate civil dispute, he retreated to a remote estate in Turks and Caicos. In 2020, when a former associate threatened to go public, he disappeared for nearly a month, only to resurface at an exclusive European fashion show, surrounded by legal advisors. He doesn't just disappear, he disconnects strategically, surgically, and with enough infrastructure to avoid exposure. Disappearing is a skill. Timing it is an art. When pressure rises, Diddy retreats, and the pattern is repeating. Federal sources are reportedly cross-referencing data seized from the island with ongoing Jane Doe lawsuits involving sexual misconduct and intimidation. If digital evidence shows coordination across borders or intent to obstruct legal proceedings, the case could jump from civil to federal territory overnight. What's more, forensic teams are said to be using geolocation metadata to match timestamps with accusations previously dismissed due to lack of evidence. The past has a way of resurfacing when the files aren't deleted. Linkage creates leverage, and leverage flips cases. In leaked internal memos, agents mention a potential secondary site connected to the main island estate, possibly an underground bunker or nearby islet. Thermal drone imagery picked up irregular heat signatures beneath the property, consistent with sub-level structures or sealed chambers. No official comment, no confirmation, just growing whispers that the real secrets weren't seized. They're still buried. The scariest rooms are the ones that stay locked. On purpose. The loudest secrets are often hidden underground. This investigation was never just about Diddy. It's about how power protects itself through offshore structures, encrypted systems, and carefully curated silence. From Hollywood elites to global moguls, the pattern is chillingly consistent. Isolate, insulate, and erase. But the island breach shattered that shield. With each decrypted file, investigators inch closer to uncovering how deep the connections go and how many others may fall as collateral. When secrets become too heavy to bury, they explode. Exposure isn't personal, it's structural, and it's already begun. Federal dive teams reportedly swept the surrounding waters of the island and found submerged motion sensors and camera equipment mounted on coral rock. These weren't ordinary cameras. They were military grade, capable of thermal imaging and long-distance underwater tracking. Who installs surveillance equipment below sea level unless they expect an approach from directions no one else can see? What you monitor tells the world what you fear. When you guard the ocean, you're not hiding from tourists. Despite the scale of the raid, major news outlets were unusually silent. No helicopters, no live feed, no early leak. Only a few online investigators and independent journalists even noticed the activity until it was already over. Analysts suspect intentional suppression. Some point to media conglomerates with ties to talent agencies or brands connected to Combs Enterprises. In today's world, it's not just who owns the island, it's who owns the narrative. Control the story, control the storm. Silence in the news often means power off-screen. Behind the scenes, Diddy's legal team has reportedly shifted strategy, less about denial, more about obstruction. Multiple requests for discovery documents in unrelated cases have suddenly been delayed. One federal court filing even mentions a pending security clearance review, an unusual phrase for a private citizen. The theory? Delay the leak long enough to outlast the headline, but timing can't erase truth. It only postpones its arrival. Legal delays don't clear names. They cloud perception. Multiple former employees, bodyguards, assistants, pilots, have been unreachable since the raid. Some reportedly signed updated NDAs within days of the operation, complete with enhanced penalty clauses. One leaked clause even includes loss of future royalty. This isn't just protection. It's quiet bought at scale. The bigger the secret, the higher the silence. When everyone goes quiet at once, the silence is scripted. Even though the island is silent now, the digital footprint it left behind is anything but. Cybersecurity firms working alongside federal teams uncovered remote login attempts tied to devices still trying to access the island's encrypted network. These pings came from IP addresses in Dubai, Paris, and Sao Paulo, days after the raid. When you pull the plug on one end, someone on the other end always notices. The silence after exposure is often louder than the secret itself. Since the raid, Combs Global has reportedly seen several investors quietly withdraw capital. One venture partner postponed a major tech collaboration, citing public optics. Diddy's liquor brand, once a pillar of his empire, has stalled in multiple markets. What happens on a private island can still rattle Wall Street. Reputation isn't just public, it's portfolio deep. A handful of music collaborators have begun removing Diddy's name from streaming metadata. Producers have gone silent. PR reps are dodging calls. One former associate posted a cryptic story that simply read, "Protect your masters, always." It's not about guilt by association. It's about fallout by proximity. When the brand collapses, everyone checks the escape hatch. At first, the public didn't know what to believe. But after the island raid, even longtime fans started asking hard questions. Online forums exploded, Hashtag shifted. The tone changed, from gossip to investigation, from scandal to consequence. And in that shift, a line was crossed, from narrative to reckoning. Fame can buy you time, but not forever. One detail that went almost unnoticed. During the raid, a single courier plane left the island before the Blackhawks landed. Flight logs show it wasn't registered under federal authority, but instead marked as diplomatic special clearance. That plane, a vintage Gulfstream with a private medical symbol, took off 41 minutes before agents touched ground. Its destination? A restricted airstrip in Barbados tied to a European holding company with former ties to entertainment law firm. Speculation swirls. Was something, or someone, extracted just in time? The most valuable asset in a collapsing empire isn't always money. Sometimes, it's what you can still move without being seen. If you evacuate before impact, you knew the crash was coming. What's unfolding isn't just about one man or one island. It's about the architecture of influence. Diddy's story mirrors a much larger trend. Powerful public figures building private ecosystems to operate beyond the law. Offshore havens, compartmentalized staff, digital fences instead of physical ones. It's a blueprint, replicated across industries, entertainment, and even politics. That's what makes this story dangerous. Because if the island falls, others like it may follow. And for those who've stayed hidden in the shadows of celebrity, that threat is existential. It only takes one crack in the mirror for the illusion to break. Diddy's hidden island may be the epicenter, but it's far from the end. More subpoenas are coming, more names are surfacing, and the institutions that once looked the other way, they're starting to blink. Stay tuned, because what happens next might not just reshape this case. It could crack open a much bigger machine. This video is based on publicly available reports, legal filings, and investigative journalism. It is not professional advice. Consult a qualified expert as needed.